There he is. Yeah.
You all right, Max? Look, I've got London behind me. Look, see?
He's sitting in London.
I'm in London. Look.
Welcome to American Neighbors TV. This is our favorite episode of the week, which is our Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern show where we get to interview guests from all over the world, West Ham related, of course. And today's special guest is Nigel Khan, aka Shedman from More Than Just a Podcast. And our special co-host for today is Steve, who's from the UK, but he's in Spain at the moment.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, how are you?
Yeah, good. How you all doing?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know. That just about sums up everybody's mood, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, it's not good, and we're tearing ourselves apart at the moment as well off the field. So
yeah, well, we'll get into that for sure. But the halfway point, what we like to do is answer some Hammers polls. They're good friends of ours, and there's quite a few that are up there right now. Also, there's quite a few names floating around from some supposed ITKs and stuff like that. We'll discuss what we think should be the next manager, if there is a next manager, and when should that be, etc. But to start things off, we always like to ask. I mean, it might feel like a stupid question to you, Nigel, but for everybody else who's viewing this, how did you become a West Ham supporter?
Accident of birth. I think my mum was from Plaistow. I won't say Canning Town. She thinks she's better than that. My mum's from a Plaistow family, Canning Town family. So, and she made sure I was born in the same hospital she was born in. And from that's it. You're stuck, aren't you?
Yeah.
Apparently at the time she was living in Hammersmith, but she was so determined that I'd be born where my brother was born and where she'd been born that she made sure she kept all maternity appointments to the Plaistow Maternity Hospital. And therefore it was born into me, I'm afraid. I don't know why I'm apologising. It is what it is, isn't it? Sometimes I do listen to lots. I'd love to hear people's stories about how they become Hammers.
Yeah.
And you think these are great, the great stories. I see this, or I got took here, and I just fell in love. And it was like, well, it was unfortunately I didn't have that option. No great story.
No, but that is though. I mean, a lot of us, probably wish that we were born into it, especially us abroad. We've found the club one way or another, or the club found us, and we've become, I'd say, especially West Ham supporters abroad, are obsessive. I mean, we're obsessive compulsive about the club. Once like myself, once I felt like this was my club, and then I started doing research in my family history and realizing, okay, well, I do have family, from Romford. I mean, that goes way back to the 1800s, and I'm like, okay, well, that's my tie, kind of. And then I became obsessed with the history, and I got to watch all these highlight videos. I got to watch all the, read up on all the history, the stats and the standings that go as far back as possible. Learn so much about the club. And I'm not the only one like that out here. I mean, there's lots of us like that out here. And that's what we end up finding out by interviewing these people. So when we started the show, we were just showcasing American West Ham supporters and supporters groups, trying to incentivize others out here to, grow those groups and grow the fan base here. In the meantime, we're learning the stories about how these people, it might sound silly to most, like saying, oh, well, it was actually Green Street Hooligans, or no, the IT crowd, or Football Manager or FIFA. That was the one team that I loved the badge or whatever, and then it grew from there, and they became obsessed with this culture of this club and the family and the everything about it, which is bizarre if you think about all the bullshit we have to go through as supporters with the owners and.
I look back now, and you think as a kid I grew up, and people say to me, "Oh, you don't know how lucky you were to be able to go." I went from the age of 5, 6. My uncle got our season tickets when I was 7. We were relegated in the first season. I had those season tickets. I mean, if I fast forward now 40 odd years, 45 years later, did I ever think I'd be sitting talking to Americans, to having, you know, some of my best football friends are Americans.
Yeah.
And they taught me a lesson, getting to know Dave and John, in the, obviously, you know, Green Street, the film happened. I used to walk along the Barking Road. You'd go round and you'd have loads of what we'd call football tourists, I suppose.
Yeah.
Standing in my way, taking a photograph with a Green Street sign, you know, and you go, come on, sling you, will you? The locals are coming through. Will you want to watch a game of football?
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, I dread it. And then I get friendly with Dave Altsig, who writes for West Ham Till I Die. And the funny thing, we look back, is when I found out Dave was writing the match reports on West Ham Till I Die, Sean told me about, I've recruited this bloke. Oh yeah, where's he from? New York. New York? What, and he's writing match reports? What's he bloody know about the game? Yeah. Well, he watches it. What do you mean he watches it? Oh, they get all the games out there. Yeah. And then I got texting, and out of the blue, I asked him to do something, and he found my phone number and rang me up. And I've just thought it was such a strange coincidence that this New York number flashed up as this bloke. I'd asked this bloke to do something. And I answered the phone and said, yeah, who are you? He's like, oh, it's Dave from America. I'm like, well, how'd you get my number? I said, you idiot, you left it on the internet. I was like, whoa, get rid of that then. You know, what's getting randoms ringing me up? But from that grows a friendship. And then Dave explains to me, which I think is a great story, about how he met a bloke in the early 90s, I think, who was a West Ham fan, introduces him to West Ham, predates the Premier League, predates football being shown out there. And now he used to trawl the bars of New York just trying to get a radio feed.
Yeah.
To listen to the games, to find out him and John, his mate, how they do it. And that was the change in me, that you thought, oh, hold up a minute. You know, there's me perhaps sneering, looking down my nose, thinking, what are you lot doing here? And you think, well, do you know what? You lot are as committed as me. I'll get the ump sometimes having to walk up the Barking Road. You know, I had a 10-minute walk, and you just think, wow, that's dedicated, you know, to trawl round half of New York finding somewhere to get the score.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of highlighted to me, and it did change me in a way. You know, I coined the phrase "out of towners" to as a sort of joke. People banned it about the people not from the local area.
Yeah, well, Steve and I were talking about this off the air. You know, it's the same thing with me living in, you know, the greater Boston area with Red Sox fans who, you know, they're from China. They'll come over and watch games, or wherever. It doesn't matter. It's like that with any club, anywhere, any sport in the world. There's the major sports are worldwide, you know, and we're seeing that some of these people are just as knowledgeable, just as passionate. Yeah. But, you know, lucky for, you know, people like yourself, I mean, you're born into it, you're there, you live there, you get to do it all the time. I really wish that I could go to every single match, man. I would if I could, you know, yeah. But I do my best. And there's a lot of people, for example, the people on the West Coast, you know, for the 12:30 matches in the UK, they have to wake up earlier than 4:30. The match is at 4:30. They'll open up these pubs, or breweries or whatever, or have, you know, parties at the house, and they'll turn on the match. They'll all get together at 4:30 in the morning to watch this. You know, that's dedication, especially the ones like out in Fresno that do that, or in Los Angeles that do this on a regular basis. You know, that I think that's awesome. You know,
no, it can only be applauded. You know, I followed a lot of these people now on Twitter, the little American groups. I try and, if I see them, I try and follow them to see what they're doing, because, as you can see, I thought it was brilliant that you had that event in Vegas where you all came together. You know, because that's what's needed at the end of the day. That is what, you know, football, whether us locals, to coin a phrase, like it or not, you know, football's now a global sport. It has changed. We can either sit and be bitter about it, or, you know, we can move on and progress with it. And I think there are certain things I will still be bitter about, but growing the fan base is not one of them.
Yeah. Well, we actually have a long-time viewer here. Neil from South Australia, who says you can't get more out of towner than halfway around the fucking world. So like Australia, you know.
Well, yeah, oh yeah, that's true.
This guy,
yeah.
I mean, he'll be up at all hours. I mean, he's retired, but he'll get up at all hours. I mean, he'll watch our live streams at like 9 p.m. Eastern time, our time, which is like 2 a.m. your time. Who knows what it is? It's like 10:30 in the morning his time. I don't know. But he's super dedicated to it all. And I'll see him on Hammers Chat videos or West Ham Fan TV videos, and you know, in the chat room. And I mean, he's super loyal. But no, that's just an example. So, how did the whole more than just a podcast start? When did it start? What was the conversation like with Sean and whatnot?
Well, I'm a recent addition to it, thanks to technology. Basically, this is their 9th season, started by George Bucci, with Johnny's dad, and obviously John and Sean, best friends. They start a show, more than just a podcast. I don't know about late to the internet. I think I joined the internet around 2010, West Ham wise and whatever, got a Twitter account. That was to protest against the owners and the move. That's purely why I'd come to the internet, because I was told this is what I need to do, because I was at the ground protesting, but actually you need to do something else. So, and then I got told that there's this show that had talked about me. So I listened to it, and I think I actually said that was 45 minutes of my life I'd never get back. But there was something alluring about it. I kept listening to it, and then it so happened that this bloke called Sean Whetstone was on the SAB, the SAB Mark 1. Its first, when it was brought in, I joined the SAB because for me it was a way to get access to the owners to tell them what I thought of them. Mm-hmm. Sean then arranged to interview me, and I sit in a room, and I don't know what he looks like, and then he talks because he's sitting at the front and I'm at the back, and I thought, oh, I didn't think he'd look like that, to be fair.
Yeah, I didn't either, to be honest with you. I was like, you sure?
Yeah, he sounds taller. Anyway, so he interviewed, and the funny thing about it is that you know, I was in sort of a semi-protest group that's called Hughes View, and we were campaigning to force the club to give the fans a vote on the move properly pre-move. The club were fighting it, so I was on the SAB, and there was a couple of others on there, and we used that. Sean interviewed me as part of that, and then Sean would keep popping up, but we were from the opposite sides of the coin. I was like in the rebel faction. There was about 4 or 5 of us, totally against the move, and then Sean was with the other 60, 70 of them that were like the nodding Churchill dogs that were pro the move. I don't know. It's a strange thing to say. You know, a friendship grew out of actually thinking 2 different things, you know, and it just evolved. And then we started hanging out a bit. We would meet at games, and then we'd drink in the Black Lion pub, because they would meet in the Black Lion pub, and I used to drink in there on a Thursday night, not on a match night. I ran a 5-a-side football team out of the Black Lion pub locally for about 6 years. So it was easy to meet John, who I magnated to, really, John Bucci, because he was, you know, of the same mind as me, that the owners weren't right and that the move was wrong. Mm-hmm. And then I used to regularly pop up on interviews. If Sean had no one else to talk to, he'd ring me up and say, can I talk to you for 10 minutes? And me, I'll talk to anyone about West Ham, you know. Yeah. And then they got this technology that enabled me to join them from my shed.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad because I don't even know who the listener was. I think it was about the 3rd week of having me on. I think I joined in series 7. And the bloke turned man and made a flippant comment about Shed Man, and before you knew it, George cracked up, you know, the Batman theme tune to Shed Man, and the name had sort of stuck there. And you know, my silly catchphrase come from the fact that there was a bloke on Facebook called Amin Yashed, and his name was Amin. Yashed, and
Yes,
people
yeah.
used to go talk to him saying, "Get out of my shed," and he, he had a meltdown one day, and I thought it'd be funny, and I found a bloke called Amin Marshed. So
Yeah.
that's where the catchphrase come. I'm in my shed. So I'm not in my shed now because I've had a bigger shed built, and I'm halfway through renovating all the West Ham stuff into there.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So, oh boy, there's a lot of people in the chat room right now because we have a live chat going along with this video. We're streaming live simultaneously on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope for those people on Twitter. And a lot of people are asking for your opinion on, well, if you heard about potentially Sean Dyche being interested in becoming our next manager, and what you think about that.
Do you know what? Sometimes I self-block myself from Twitter because I read a lot of nonsense on there. And
I hate it.
You know, and like people, I get the thing about social media. It's great because it introduces us. Without social media, I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't know a lot of the people now that I know in and around the ground without social media. But then it gives this instant reaction. In regards to Sean Dyche thing, I'm not buying it. To be fair, I don't think I can't see Sean Dyche thinking I fancy the West Ham job in the situation we're in at the moment, let alone putting his hat in the ring. So,
yeah,
you know, what do I know?
Yeah. So, Steve, what do you think about that?
If the only thing I would say about that is if my old man used to be a copper, and he used to say the best place to copper is where you know you can copper, i.e. South London. You go out blindfolded, you'll get a nick. And I'm wondering if Sean Dyche is using a similar sort of attitude of, you know, you can't get much more poisonous and toxic at the moment than the direction we're heading. So maybe he's thinking if that's a huge challenge, and if he can get hold of it and he can turn it round, that is a big line on his CV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So says every past manager we've had in the past 7-10 years.
That's true.
At the end of the day, you know, it gets to a point where 10 years later, managers have got to start looking at the chances, the onus, and thinking, you know, do we really want to be part of that? You know, they've got to see that the owners love nothing more than using people to undermine the manager when things go against them. The problem, you know, from day one, these owners have wanted to be loved. Yeah, this is what they want. The reason why they're out there, you know, so-called mixing with the fans, being open and vocal, is because they love the attention, the publicity, and they wanted to be loved. They believed they were coming in to save us from an impending Armageddon, and that we should be eternally grateful. They front gold up because, you know, Mr. 442 Green Street, born in Stepney, by the way, not in Green Street. They front him up because they thought he'd be the man of the people. His mum lived across the road, I think, till she was about 90 odd, and she had her 90th birthday party in the supporters club. So he was Mr. West Ham. Sullivan, you know, it was a big West Ham fan. Went to the Cup Winners' Cup in '65 and everything, but then gives an interview when he's owner of Birmingham City, saying how he'd love to earn Cardiff City because that was his hometown club.
Yeah,
you know. You got to look at the way they've done it, and this is the problem with the club. Who really wants to work for those people? Look at Karen Brady. You know, really, do we really want? You know, these managers really want to be involved? But wave £7 million in their eyes, and I think they would.
Yeah, especially someone like a Dyche. I mean, compared to like someone who's already made that type of money, who likes that type of money, like a Rafa Benitez or someone. But you're talking the younger coaches like that don't get paid that much money, like an Eddie Howe or a Sean Dyche. I mean, that, yeah, you're right. The money could be very attractive. They could put the blinders on. Well, they see the potential.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, in theory, if you look at how young he's shown his loyalty to Bournemouth, and he's shown his longevity that he's willing to stay in a job and do a job. And then you could say the same for Sean Dyche. Shown the door by Watford, goes to Burnley. I think he's been relegated, I don't once or twice with Burnley, but brought them back, and now he's established Burnley as a footballing club in the Premier League. I mean, I remember Burnley near enough getting relegated last day of the season out of the Football League in 1987. If you look where Burnley have come from now to this position, a lot of it was started a bit before Sean Dyche, but now Dyche has picked it up and run with it and done even better and probably exceeded what everybody thought could happen at Burnley. So there's the potential there, and he's a good age. Pellegrini was only short-termism. His age and everything else, it was short-termism. The problem with the club is the way they've sold the move to the fans, and that they want to keep the fans on side. They need to produce. They made so many bold claims before the move that, lies or broken promises or whatever you want to call them. They made those claims. They need to deliver, because the fan base is, I don't believe, is still going to stick by the club year on year on year. What happens? I mean, I wrote years ago in Overland and Sea fanzine, the worst thing that could happen to West Ham in the Olympic Stadium is it stays as West Ham. It's a bit reassuring to me to see this crap and everything, in a way, because it says to me, blimey, the old West Ham's still there. But what it's done now is, where at the Bowling Ground there weren't that negativity, because we knew what we were and we accepted what we were, because off the back of it, a lot of fans feel conned and lied to because they backed the move. So the majority of the fans backed the move and went into the stadium, and they've seen what it is. It ain't what they were led to believe. The money's not there that they were told it was going to happen. World-class stadium, world-class teams, not going to happen. They're never going to have that. Now they feel lied and cheated to. So how are they going to do it? So you bring in a manager like Pellegrini. Believe it or not, they have thrown money at it. You could say they've spent more money than West Ham's ever spent, but they've had more money from the Premier League riches than any other. So they've spent the money. Has it been spent wisely? What I would say to these people that are worrying is that, and I've said this to a few people this weekend, if we had Fabianski in goal, not Roberto, how many more points do you think? Do you think we could have had 5 more points this season?
Maybe. I mean, realistically, I think the confidence would have been there. I don't know. I mean,
out of 18 points we could have got in the games that we've played.
I thought it was like 2 and 21, isn't it? Do we only get 2 and 21?
Right. I thought? Do you not think we would have got 5 more points with Fabianski in goal?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right. Well, that puts us now 7th. So, and this leads me back now to, why is everybody screaming to get Pellegrini out and bring Dyche in and Eddie out and all these other names that are being bandied about, when we still got a manager in the job, a manager that on paper is the most highly decorated manager West Ham's ever hired. Why are we screaming at him? Because we've had bad 6 weeks. Jesus Christ, if we'd have had a bad 6 years, I could imagine it. We've had a bad 6-7 weeks. And it's out. You've got to allow him the time, bring back Fabianski. Let's see what happens. We're in a run of games we traditionally always lose as well. So that's going to heap pressure.
Yeah. Well, my argument is just that we don't have Fabianski right now, and our form is shit. I mean, it doesn't look like we're getting any better. It looks like the players are performing worse, except for 2 or 3. I know this last match, Noble actually looked really good, and so did Snodgrass, who has been looking good the last few matches. And then Antonio off the bench. Okay, well, other than that, I mean, it's the same old shit with these guys. Like, it doesn't look like they're improving whatsoever. I know if we had, Fabianski, there'd be a lot more confidence in our defenders, right? Because it looks like they have 0 confidence. They're all playing like shit. But it's one of those things where this goes back to last season. Last season was excruciatingly frustrating. I don't know how the hell we finished 10th. It felt like we did a lot worse than that overall. I mean, we started off with no win in 4, and then we won a couple matches in a row, and then it was like win, loss, win, loss, win, Arnie saga, and then win, loss. Oh, but we finished the season with 4 wins or something like that, 3 or 4 wins. And then we're like, okay, great. Then we throw all this money, we're supposedly throw, even though it was just, we sold people, took that money and whatever. And like, we got a record signing again, 2 years in a row. We got a record signing. Okay, great. We spent all this money, then we go into the season. We get smashed by Man City. Oh, but it's Man City. They'll smash everybody. No, they don't. They didn't smash Norwich. They didn't smash, everybody. And it's just a fucking excuse. And then next thing you know, we win a few matches against Watford, against Norwich, teams that we should beat. Anybody should beat, really. And then we draw. I mean, then it starts to nosedive. And then we get the Fabianski injury and everything else. But no, I mean, it doesn't look like it's changing. I mean, it looks like last season all over again, just in different form. Instead of losing the first 4, well, here's our 4 now that we're losing in a row, and it's just the same old shit. We'll probably finish 10th again, but it doesn't.
But that's the way it's.
No, but Allardyce we finished 10th. You know what I'm saying? Like we did the same shit back at the Bowl-In. Like, where's the improvement? Where's all this improvement that they're promising us? Like,
but all right. So then, what I'd say to you is, why do you think there should be an improvement?
Because of all the investment, all the investment that's supposedly going on here.
And this is the thing where, when I was arguing against the move to the stadium, that I picked up is that the stadium don't pay for the move. It's the TV money that pays for the players. And that if we're getting the TV money, so is every club. There's a reason why there's a bigger gap between first and second than there is between us and fifth. Is that TV money has actually equaled the Premier League out into a better league now, because where there was 3 or 4 mini leagues in, there's like 2 leagues. The top 4 have stretched away already. Leicester have joined that, having another good season. They've done well, and everybody can look at Leicester as a way a club should be run. So, but we can always pick these clubs out. There's always a club that we could point to and go, why aren't we like that? We're not. We're West Ham. We are what we are. But it's so equal now that everybody's beating everybody around each other, and that's why, after only taking 2 points in 21, as you said, we're only 5 points off 5th or 6 points off 5th. So therefore, every other club could be actually sitting on YouTube and having a row with itself, because we're in this situation when actually it's just football, isn't it? The money, the Premier League money, has equaled every club. Every club can buy a £40 million player now. Never used to be like that in the day.
So are we panicking prematurely then, Neil? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely.
We're panicking prematurely.
Yeah, and this is the downside for me of social media, is you can now see this instant reaction. And it builds up, and the big major accounts, they put things out there and they interact with their things. And I say to Sean, and believe me, Sean will tell you, I slaughter him, but people don't see it because I've got his phone number. I can ring him up and say, what the is that? What are you chatting about? And I do, and I say to him at times, don't be part of the problem, because at times these accounts can be part of the problem, because they put things out there and they engage, and then they say things like Sean Dyche and Eddie Howe and everything, and people magnetise to that and think, yeah, Pellegrini out, let's get Dyche in. I think as a fan base, we think too much of ourselves as a club. I don't know. Our history denotes that we've only been successful. All our trophies came in a 16-year period out of 119 years of existence.
But I don't know. My opinion is just that the seasons before those. So basically, since we've been back in the Premier League, since the 11-12 season, right? Obviously, you're down the championship. The results haven't changed. It's just the manner of how we get to those results. I'm sorry, the finish standing. 12, 13, 10, 10, 13, 12, 17, 12, 10. I mean, it's roughly the same shit over and over and over again. But yet we left the bowl in for the same shit. That's my problem. I mean, that's what I was trying to say. But we should expect improvement, no?
This is the thing what I say, because, being one of the minority that was standing there going, it ain't going to happen, people. Am I surprised? Of course I'm not. What I used to say was, I'll tell you what, if I'm right, and I said this before we moved, if I'm right, this club's going to be in a bad place. So let's hope I'm wrong. But I looked at the evidence and I didn't think I'd be wrong. And the stadium does not, because of the deal West Ham done, they don't own the stadium. A lot of the money's not income. It's cheap for them to rent, but they don't get a lot of the income from it. As soon as a stadium opens and gets its name, it's very hard to sell the image rights to the stadium or the naming rights. That's the problem.
Get my back, please.
As soon as you call it the London Stadium, that's the name of it. Yeah. And then, so if you wanted to call it the Visa Stadium or the Ann Summers Stadium, people are going to still go, oh, we're going to go to the London Stadium. So therefore, that diminished. They didn't tie that up first. Bearing in mind, most of that money would have gone to the LLDC anyway. The revenue stream, David Gold, before the move, admitted that it would only raise 10 to 15 million a year extra. So he knew that before the move, that it would only give that. So if you look at that, that buys you like the 2 legs of Yarmolenko. And we've all seen how good they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you're I don't know, man. I'm just frustrated because I think
the frustration. The problem is, and this ties back to where people go, "Oh, you're always having a go at the owners." Yeah, because and why I believe the owners should leave is for precisely this reason. Because because every time we go through situations like this, the owners will get bashed, quite rightly, and I will bash them, believe me, until they leave the club. Because then once they leave the club, we can unite behind a new owner who won't have this baggage with a new owner. If we have a manager that goes through this period, we won't be looking at the owners saying, you dragged us here, you lied to us, because it wouldn't have been that new owner that dragged us here. That's for me why they need to leave, because of the lies and I believe it was lies that were told to bring us here has brought us to this situation. Nothing's changed. We're the same West Ham. Nothing's changed. But they lifted up people's expectations, knowing they couldn't deliver.
No, I know, but the reason why I'm frustrated is that we have spent a lot of money, supposedly, on these players that we didn't have back in 12, 13, 14, 15 under Allardyce and etc. And yet we're getting the same results. So they're better players. We're buying supposedly better players, or we just give too much money, or we give too much money to these players
because they've got more money. So the likes of, I mean, Bournemouth have got a stadium, holds 9,000 fans, yet they're finishing above us. Why is that? Because they've got the money to buy players. What will make you more successful is your scouting regime and getting a decent manager. Basically, one that can understand the game.
Yeah,
which we got in Pellegrini. Let's get this right. In Pellegrini, won the FA Cup, he won the league title with Man City. I used to say to Sean used to go, "Oh, he's never finished outside the top 6 last season." I used to say, "Never managed West Ham, though, has he?" Because
we were excited. We were all excited.
That's it. But why are we now in this situation? Because I don't see any difference. Why? Because we invested in a high-profile manager, which a lot of the players wanted. The supporters wanted. They've spent hundreds of £1 million. Well, that's what the supporters wanted them to do.
But you've seen these performances firsthand, though. I mean, we're just sitting here watching on TV. I mean, you telling me that like the performance look like they're getting better? Right?
No, but therefore, a lot of times on the podcast, I'll lay the blame at the players. The players, when we hear them say, "Oh, they don't want to play for the manager," I don't want them to play for the manager. I want them to play for me. I want them to play for the shirt. And actually, when does professional pride come into it? To go out there, if you think you're too good to play for West Ham, go out and prove it then. Because at the moment, if you wanted to leave us, if we wanted to sell Anderson or Yarmolenko, I don't think the clubs that they think they can play for would want to buy them. Not on the performances off the back of us. Years ago, we used to buy the players. They would put in big performances and we'd sell them for a profit, and we'd have to try and turn the same thing again. Yeah. We're not doing that now, are we? Because we're shopping at the top table, or just below the top table, I would say. But these players are not kicking on. And I'll put that squarely down to the players and their attitude. I mean, there's no coincidence there that the 3 players you named, Noble, Snodgrass, Antonio, British. Yeah,
they're players that Pellegrini didn't bring in.
Well, there's that to it as well. I mean, I've been told that apparently, if you look at Pellegrini, I'm going to argue against myself now. So if you look at Pellegrini at Man City, won the title, brilliant, won it in the first year. Most of the players were Mancini's.
That's true.
When he tinkered with it, they didn't win the title.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's true.
So, but at the end of the day, this is a man who at Real Madrid, he didn't win the title, but he got more points than the other Real Madrid manager in history.
Yeah. All right. So right now, this is usually the point where we do some Hammers polls, just so you know, Nigel. I'm going to get basically all three of us will answer the polls. So we'll go and I'll call on you and depending on which poll we're talking about here. It's kind of fun. Some of these are, ridiculous questions. No, but seriously, and some of them are actually really, really, really good questions.
The old phrase is ask a stupid question, I may give a stupid answer.
That's kind of what we're looking for. So the first one, you guys can see this. Can you guys see this? It says, are you fed up with Anderson pulling out of tackles all the time?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. He's a bottle job.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now. I was talking to a mate in the stadium yesterday. Someone put the ball through his legs because he bottled the 50-50. He just will not do it, and he does it time and time again.
Steve.
He's like a cheetah. You know how a cheetah will run for quarter of a mile and then it gives up.
Oh, that type of cheetah. I thought you meant another type.
Yeah. No. And I think he's like that. If after sort of 10 or 15 minutes, he's not bossing it down that wing, he gives up.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday's game, the first sort of 10 minutes or so, I actually thought that Anderson was up for it and he was starting to put himself about. And then something happened and it was like he gave up. And then when there was that big tackle that he pulled out of in front of us, and everybody went mad. And he was like, okay, then I'm done.
I think it's the electric dog collar again that I keep talking about on our show. I think that Pellegrini has this electric fence around the box, and he also has it somewhere else. I think he's got something where he just pushes a button, and Anderson is not allowed to go inside the box, or he's also not allowed to track back at certain points. I don't know, could be. But yeah, I'm frustrated as well. So I think the answer will be obvious here. 82%, and that's on 344 votes with 5 days left. So anybody watching this, whether it's Periscope, Facebook, or YouTube, first and foremost, please subscribe to our channel. Like the video, even if you don't, that would be cool. And the other one would be, check out Hammers Polls on Twitter and participate. Also, if you have a poll of your own, send it their way, and most likely they'll add it. Like, I think this next one might be one as well. A fan question. Yeah, so this is from heavy_sunshine. With Diop suspended for the Chelsea match, who should play in his absence? The options here in this poll are Reed, Balbuena, Cardoso. Let's start with Steve this time.
Well, I'm probably going to get absolutely slated for this, but I think that he should start with three at the back. I think he should put, all right, he's stuck. He's got to play one of those. He should put Balbuena in there because Reed is potentially still very fragile and Cardoso's unproven. But he should also pull Declan Rice back.
Yes.
Play three at the back.
He played very well in the back in the second half. What do you think, Nigel?
Well, I mean, to be fair, he stole my thunder there, Steve, because I was going to say I wouldn't play three at the back, but I mean, before he brought on, I was complaining. I said I would put Rice in the back. When we were 3 down, I said we need to put Rice in the back because he's our best defender at the moment. Yeah. When he brought Sanchez on, I actually did scream. I thought Pellegrini had lost the plot until I see that he took Diop off and put Rice into the back. If you watch, then I don't think Spurs had a real big chance once Rice moved into the back. I'm going to embarrass myself. Who's Cardoso? Don't know who he is. Balbuena or Reed. If it was Winston Reed, who was 100% fit, he would be my choice, to be fair. But if not Balbuena, I don't know who Cardoso is. Sorry.
Isn't he that? He's the new signing, isn't he?
Yeah, the 20-year-old from, I don't know if it's Portugal or...
Is he?
Yeah, something like that. We signed him in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been with the under-23s, and they've been doing well, so good for him. So that's who should, but really though, who do you think this stubborn bastard of a dinosaur is going to play?
Well, I think he'll go Balbuena.
So do I.
Yeah.
If 100% fit, I would say he should play Reed, but I think he will play Balbuena. But
he has not really played this season anyway. He said he didn't like playing Balbuena and Ogbonna together. Like he refused to almost. Remember, he would bench Ogbonna, who was on form, to get Balbuena in there because he felt bad for Balbuena instead of sitting Diop, who'd been playing like shit. Because he doesn't like. I don't know. He said something about them two together. I don't know. He didn't like it. I don't know. So anyway, we'll probably do Balbuena. Let's pick Balbuena here. Wow, 43% say Reed, and that's under 490 votes. Wow, that's kind of shocking to me. I think that's out of passion or something instead of. I
think Reed is the better defender. The Winston Reed pre-injury problems was the better defender. Let's face it, he's virtually not played for 2 years.
Yeah. He's been getting some minutes with New Zealand, and he's been getting some minutes with the under-23s, which is good. Yeah. But again, that's not Premier League match fit again. So I'd be scared to throw him out there. He'd just get injured again. But I think we need to keep trying to get him fit so that maybe we can sell him on somewhere in the future. But anyway, 43% say Reed, and 40% say Balbuena, and 17% say who's Cardoso, like Nigel did. All right, so this is this is going to be a funny one. Oliver Lincoln asks, surely now Manuel Pellegrini has to drop Roberto, but who comes in his place? Do we give Martin a chance, or do we call Trott, who's done well at Wimbledon, and give him a shot? We probably need to correct him here. He can't be recalled to January anyway, and hopefully Fabianski will be back by then. But just to humor this gentleman, Oliver Lincoln, who would you rather see? I guess David Martin, or recall Trott, or keep Roberto? Nigel.
Well, I'm available.
That's right. You used to play keeper.
And believe me, I'd looked a lot like Roberto in goal.
The neck tattoos or what?
No tattoos. My goalkeeping style was very much like Roberto.
Oh, you like to punch?
No, I like to let it go past me. I think was the phrase. I mean, for me, I think because of the negativity, it's David Martin. Purely that I think I was talking just before I come on with Dave in New York, and I said that I think us as fans can destroy players, and if they're not protected from us, it can go too far. It happened years ago with Alan McKnight, who wasn't a bad keeper. Unfortunately, the Sun made a headline out of him, McNightmare, and it stuck with him, and it stuck with the fan base, and we all slaughtered him as well. And it ended up ruining virtually his career, went nowhere after us. David Martin, to be fair, the last thing I see him do at Millwall was drop the ball in the back of the goal. Yeah. So it's got to be David Martin, though. I just think that Roberto, if you're playing in front of him, you're going to be worried, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you're a defender.
That's the way it's been, I mean, I don't think we're going to have any confidence until Fabianski comes back, to be honest. But I think there'll be a little bit more confidence in David Martin. Unless I say this a lot, we're not there on the training pitch. We don't really know how good David Martin is, or how he's doing in training, or vice versa with Roberto. Roberto could be a beast in training, in front of a 5-foot net, and one of those little pug nets or whatever. But, in the big, massive goal, in gameplay, I mean, he's horrible. It's embarrassing.
For me, you want to see him. I mean, going back to yesterday's game, you want to see if he can come out with a bit of confidence. And they floated the ball into the box earlier, and we got away with it. He got beat to the ball, and the ball was in the air for so long he had to come and caught it. And he did his usual. He waited to the last minute, came to try and punch it, and missed the ball. But luckily, I don't know if it was an offside. They put the ball over the bar anyway. And therefore, you think there's your confidence. The defenders in front of him would be looking at that and thinking, "Oh my Christ, here we go again." And the first goal, I thought he could have saved. I didn't think it in the ground, It wasn't until I watched it on Match of the Day I thought, my God, that was right next to him. He should have saved it.
Yeah.
So
sorry, I'm not laughing at you. Sean Weston's just popped up in the chat.
he texts me when you're on. I've made a mistake of telling him now. So
Don't believe anything the Shedman says.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Don't listen to me when I talk about stuff because I get most of it from Sean. So it's all nonsense. People.
I love listening to the podcast and you giving him a hard time about his writing. Like he's like, oh, I guess you're gonna go put that on there again. Hey, why don't you go take that you just said and throw it up on Claire and Hugh and misinform everybody.
It's a friendly job.
No, I know. I mean, he was great. I really appreciate having him on.
The thing is, if I'm going to criticize people, I can't sit there and allow a friend to get away with it when actually he's doing what I'm criticizing people for.
Yeah.
As I say to people, if you think I'm harsh sometimes on Twitter, or I try not to be now, but I used to be in the past terrible. But I tell you what, I gave it to him 5 times as harder. But we're friends though, and the thing is, I don't get is that when you're friends, you can still disagree with people. You can still think, our friendship was born out of him wanting to move to the Olympic Stadium and me telling him he was barking mad.
Yeah. We're going to go into the next question in just a second, but we didn't get Steve's answer.
Oh, it's a very quick answer. By default, on that question, it's got to be Martin, isn't it?
Right, because the next one, I think that was the good one. So yeah, let's just say.
To be fair, I'd have picked Alvin Martin rather than Roberto, let alone David Martin.
He'd have the passion for it, for sure. So yeah, these nitwits are saying recall Nathan Trott. It's 51% out of 254 votes. That can't happen until January, so that's irrelevant. All right, this was from Kevin_Lock1. West Ham plays Southampton on the 14th of December. Who will still be in their job on the 16th of December? Pellegrini, Silva, Emery, Johnson. I don't know, Nigel, what do you think?
Who will still be in their job?
Yeah. The day after the Southampton match.
I believe 3 out of those 4 will still be in their job. Yeah. And it won't be Silva.
Yeah. Well, you think Emery really?
I think Pellegrini's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Until the middle to the end of December. The Mystic Meg predicts that they'll be hanging on to him until at least Fabianski's back, and see if it is down to the fact that this keeper is, verging on being the worst one that we've had. Even though I did witness Stas Ilic's 90 minutes for us, and believe me, that was worse than anything Roberto's done.
Yeah, but the problem though is the longer, or I can't say longer, wait, if we axe him sometime in January, that limits the amount of time whoever else would come in would have.
I didn't say January, did I? That is the 14th or the 16th of December.
Oh, December, okay.
So let's I mean, the thing is, which probably does Pellegrini a favour, is after the Southampton game we don't play Liverpool because they're in the World Club Championship, so we get a weekend off. So that will relieve the pressure. It'll be a weekend where we don't get beat.
I don't see how Fabianski could be ready though in December. I know that they're saying that he'll be back in December. I think that's more like he wants to come back.
Look, the way I see it as well is we ain't got any money anyway to spend in January. We only buy crap in January when we do spend money. So to be fair, we can wait till January, can't we, before we sack the manager? Especially when you are only 2 good performances away from being in the top 10. It's still not cut adrift. If we were like 5 points from, if we were entrenched in the bottom 3, I may be a little bit worried, but we're not.
So, Steve, So, Steve, do you think that what Nigel's saying, like, he keeps saying that we're only a couple, we're like 6 points away from a decent position. Do you see that happening anytime soon, like with the results? I mean, sorry, with the fixtures that we have. Like, if I want actually both of you to answer, but I'd like Steve to answer first. Like, where do you see us getting 6 points between now and January, Steve?
The typical West Ham answer is who knows.
Probably the hardest two matches, probably Chelsea and Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We could beat Arsenal, beat Chelsea, lose to Wolves.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Is it Southampton?
We got Leicester in there. Crystal Palace is in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How West Ham would it be to beat Leicester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nigel?
What Steve said is a reason why I use to illustrate the beauty of watching West Ham is that we turn up and we don't know the result of the game. And I used to say years ago, imagine how boring it must be to turn up at Old Trafford, Emirates, Stamford Bridge, when they're going through their good periods, the Etihad now and Anfield, knowing you're going to win the game. How boring must that be every week to go there knowing you're going to win the game? Because I've never done that. There's always the hope, and it would be to use that. I mean, I love my history and whatever. When we stayed up under Kirbishley, with in the Tevez whatever game, we stayed up with 41 points. We did the double over Arsenal and Man United that season, and I don't think anyone had ever done that. So we took 12 points there out of the 40 odd from two of the best teams in the league that season. So we've always got it in our locker, and that's what was disappointing about yesterday, that we didn't have a shot until the 60th minute against Tottenham. That's what's disappointing. That wasn't West Ham, and that's what needs to be turned around.
Yeah. All right. The last Harris poll before we get into the rapid fire is actually, I'll go back here and just for shits and giggles, just to say Silva, which is the absolute obvious. So basically, the Harris polls, I would assume, are followed by West Ham supporters, right? So they all want Pellegrini out. So not these ones. 58% want him in, but yeah, it's like Johnson and Emery.
Yeah,
So
I'm not necessarily sure that's 58% want him in. It's 58% think he will still be in.
Yeah.
Who will still be in there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the way I read it.
Looking at owners and the club situation and all that kind of thing.
This is a good one. Did Carlos Sanchez do anything against Spurs to suggest that he's worthy of a starting position? Let's start with Nigel.
No.
Steve.
I didn't even know he was on the pitch after he came on.
You know what's funny? I couldn't tell the difference between him and Antonio. I seriously thought Sanchez.
I'm glad you said that, not me.
I thought Sanchez. No, they both have dreads. I swear, they both not dreads. I'm sorry, the cornrows. That's what it was. Sanchez went and I thought he smashed that goal in, but it was actually Antonio. So I thought
up in the gods, and I had to ask my mate, who's number 15 to us? Because I didn't know who it was. And I don't have a program, whatever, and he had to look it up, and he went, "Oh, it's Sanchez." I was like, "Blimey, what we're bringing him on?" And I did lose it a bit. I said, "I can't believe he's doing that."
Yeah.
So no.
So Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, no.
So 75% say no.
25% said yes.
Yeah.
That just shows you that they're not just followed by West Ham fans.
No, the Carlos Sanchez fan.
Yeah.
Oh God. We'll do one more, I guess, because we still have a tiny bit of time. So, does Antonio start against Chelsea? And if so, who drops out? But yes or no, does he start against Chelsea? Steve.
Yes, he does, and you've got to drop Anderson. I hate to say it, but bench him might make him pull his socks up a bit.
Fair enough. Nigel.
Well, yes, but for me, Yarmolenko. I've never rated him, and a couple of times I've sat in the ground and gone, I can't see what this geezer does for us, and then he scores a goal.
Yeah,
but
that's how he
he will be 85 minutes of dross, and then he can pop up with a goal, but he don't do it enough for me.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's exactly what I was saying about Antonio last season. He'll get the goal against Liverpool that we need. But the other time, I mean, he's not technical whatsoever. Which what is he doing? He's just running around. He's distracting people. I guess he's getting himself at least in the box. But then he'd smash the ball in the rosette. This match, he missed 2 shots that were actually low to the ground. I couldn't freaking believe it. Low to the ground to him. I mean, it was probably about crossbar height, but I was impressed. It looks like he's been working on that maybe, or it's just the other 40 pounds of muscle he's added on since he's been out. I don't know, but no, you're right. I think he does need to start. I definitely thought that he needed to come off the bench. His first match back. I thought that would have been really stupid to risk him against Spurs, but I didn't. I think that putting him in at halftime was kind of stupid. I thought that he'd come in a little bit later, give Anderson a little bit more time, get his ass chewed out during halftime. But anyway, I think that either one really. I lean more towards Anderson dropping because Yarmolenko, like you're saying, Nigel, though, is definitely a lot like Antonio in my eyes. I think that they both will get that goal. I mean, if just as soon as you start slagging them off, they will get that goal. If we have them both on the pitch at the same time, that could be beneficial because Anderson's just doing a whole lot of running around doing nothing. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, he's I don't know. Anyway, let's just see. Yes, he starts 96%. 900.
Just on that, Tim, Kent Hammer's made a good point. They said that Yarmolenko's so easy to read because he is totally one-footed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so is Antonio. He's a right footer, So
yeah,
it's just the opposite. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know they both prefer the right side, but Antonio can play on the left. I don't know. I would like to see that. I really would. But either way, I mean, honestly, I just want to see Antonio on the pitch at this time. If we're going to salvage, anything out of this season and try to get those 6 points that we keep talking about that we're only that far away, let's have him on the pitch. So 96% out of 954 votes. That's the most votes on any of these polls yet. And only 4% said no. So those are got to be Chelsea supporters. Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Hammers Polls, for allowing us to, go over these polls. Yeah. All right. So this is the rapid fire question time, Nigel. This is my favorite part. We got 11 questions for you. I'm sorry, 10 questions for you. Rapid fire, you can just one word it, or you can elaborate if you choose.
Yeah.
But this is how we close out all the shows. So first one is meat pie or apple pie.
Tim, stop before you do. Take the polls off.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, meat pie or apple pie?
Apple pie. Bit of custard. Apple crumble, probably, if I'm truthful.
You know what? That's the thing. Yeah, we when the questions were created, a lot of us behind the scenes were saying, well, all the English people will say meat pie, all the Americans will say apple pie, but it's really been the opposite for the most part. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, my wife sells meat pies for a living, and they are good. But if you said, would you rather? Yeah, apple pie.
Right on. Who's your favorite current West Ham player?
A favourite current West Ham player? Blimey, that's tough for me. I think of them as all the same. Probably it is Antonio. It would have to be Antonio. I think he gives his heart into everything.
You know what's funny? Actually, before we go any further, Sean Weststone's in the chat room asking, ask the in the know shed man where Masuaku is.
Do I know where Masuaku is?
Yeah.
No, he's not in my shed.
he ain't out here.
No, yeah.
No, he's I don't know, he could be in Miami. I don't know. That's where that or Vegas, that's where Andy Carroll used to hang out, and Joey O'Brien and Winston Reed when they're injured. So who frustrates you the most in the current West Ham squad?
The fan base.
Okay, that's a first. All right, that usually isn't a different question on this rapid fire.
Well, as a player, I think Anderson. I think he's got a lot of skill, but Jesus Christ, he should be doing a lot more with it.
Yeah. Steve, who did you answer when we asked you these questions? You remember?
No, I don't remember. I think who frustrates me most, I think I said, I could be wrong, but I think I might have said Masuaku, maybe.
Yeah, that usually comes up. That for me, it was Fredericks. And a lot of people say Antonio. A lot of people say Antonio or Anderson.
Well, Antonio frustrates a lot of people.
Yeah, because if you go back to even last season as well, or the season before, he'll get those goals. But for the most part, he's running around sweating with his mouth wide open, and he's not doing anything. He's just smashing the ball into Rosette, or those are the type of matches that we all remember from him. But what he'll do is he'll shut all our memories off.
I mean, quickly, the problem I see with Antonio is he done his best work when he joined us, which was from the right side of midfield. The problem is where he's been such a utility player, he's been moved about. He's been right back. He's been played on the left, and yet where you look at a lot of the goals, near enough all the goals that he scored come from when he played right midfield, coming in.
Yeah. But again, it's one of those things where we all expect the frustrated question usually leans toward like someone that you would expect more out of. Like we could see Antonio banging in a lot more goals if he was more technical, those type of things. I guess that's the argument with him. But with Fredericks, it's this guy can't fucking stop passing to the other team. He's super fast, the fastest guy in the world, but yet that's all he is. He's just super fast. What else does he do? He gives the ball away. He'll get the ball into a situation where we're down the corner. He can't get a fucking cross in. Like, what's up with that? That's frustrating me. That's why I picked him. And plus, he's a spud. So, I'll never let that go. But so FA Cup or top 4 finish, which
FA Cup.
Okay,
all day long.
That's I'd say about 98% all say FA Cup. That's good. Yeah. What about West Ham? Do you love
the fan base?
What about West Ham? Do you hate the fan base?
Yeah, well, Stratford.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it. Stratford itself.
I never liked it as a kid. My mum used to send me to Sainsbury's there on the bus, and I weren't a lover of it then. It's just a wasteland, and it's a waste of time land.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy that at all. I mean, I enjoyed the Carpenters. I enjoyed Queen's Head. I enjoyed, Carton Horse. All the little bits and pieces that were in and around there. But I didn't enjoy the distance from everything, the shit in between everything.
Yeah.
There's no feeling. There's no community. There's no nothing. It's just a bunch of
that's
shit.
I mean, that's I mean, if you take people go, oh, football was a working class sport. And actually, if you look at where West Ham were at the bowling ground was a working class area and still was, people call it a shithole or whatever, but it was a working class area. And actually, they've took us there to try and remodel us as this new shiny Premier League. This is what the Premier League is. And actually, it's emptiness and nothing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. What is your favorite curse word?
Prick.
I
use it often driving in and out of London.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, mainly at Uber drivers, like the rats of London that they are, and then the black cab drivers that cut me up, and basically cab drivers, really, and bus drivers, just drivers.
You got one right over here.
Oh, is he a bus driver?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well done.
Do
you know what that thing is on the right-hand side that's amber colour? It's called a indicator. So just because you're big, it don't mean you can pull out,
Drive properly.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Stick your hand out the window all you like, mate. I'm still going round you.
I ain't getting into this because over the past hour or so we've nearly become friends.
Yes.
Oh boy. What team do you love to beat?
Millwall.
Right on. I picked Man U just because of they're like one of the I guess they have the third largest fan base in the world, and you just think about all the kids in like Somalia, or wearing the jerseys from like 1982, and then you got all the kids out in China that don't know a thing about football, and they just got the shirts, and just because of glory hunters and all the people in America who literally walk into like Americans will know this, like a Marshalls or a Kmart or a Walmart or something like that, and they'll walk in and you'll see Manchester United merchandise in all these shops, and they'll just buy it because it's soccer, and next to the Barcelona thing or next to the Real Madrid thing, you won't find any West Ham or anything like that. So there's a lot of plastic what Manchester United fans around the world in like random countries. So when we beat them, which we have, I mean, we do. We beat Manchester United once in a while, or even draw them or something. Just knowing that it makes them upset makes me happy. So
I mean, to counteract that, I would say to you that when I was a kid growing up, Man United hadn't won the title since '67, and they were still the biggest football club in the world. So actually, I don't buy into the plastic Man United. Yes, obviously with the boom of the Premier League, they had the good grace to actually become good and win it. And that will, because of the television exposure, that will then increase. But I went to the States once in 1981 at Christmas time. I spent 4 weeks in Arizona. And after the first night I got there, I got up to watch Man United play Everton highlights on the TV. So I can understand there being a lot of Man United fans in the States and around the world. West Ham were not a big draw, were they? Realistically speaking,
but just knowing that there's that many more of them, that every time we beat them, to me it means that we're upsetting a lot more people than saying, Tottenham or Millwall.
I mean, there's only one club I really hate, and that's Leeds.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Filthy club.
So name a player, past or present, that epitomizes, West Ham to you.
Billy Bonds.
Billy Bonds, right on.
I'm sure a lot of people pick that. He was one of my first heroes as a kid. Him and Phil Parks, because I wanted to be a goalkeeper. So, but I think
we've heard Trevor Brooking, we've heard Paulo Di Canio for the younger fans. We've heard
I mean, to epitomise West Ham, and this is the thing where if you look, we love the hard-working players. Bonds never had the skill of most of the players, but his dedication and his hard work, and the fact, the bloke played for 22 years. You know, I mean, to have the physical, and not only that, the physical energy to do that at the top of his, in the top division, epitomises everything about him. I mean, the most skillful player, though, for me, is Paulo Di Canio. Yeah, what he could do with football was just genius.
Steve, were you gonna say something?
No,
I thought you like.
No, I was. No. When I went like that, I said I did too.
Oh, okay. All right. The final question is my favorite question.
I love this one.
If you could take a time machine to go back and experience anything to do with West Ham all over again, or for the first time for yourself, when and where would you go?
I get asked this a few times. We played Wrexham in 1981, and it was the last home game of the season, and we won the Division 2 trophy. And I was blessed to be the mascot that day.
Really?
So
awesome.
I led the team out. And not only that, if people have got the West Ham 1982 annual, they'll see me holding Billy Bonds' hand, shaking hands with Di Davis, the keeper for Wrexham, in the 1982 annual. My picture's in there.
Fantastic.
So I could still remember the day like it was yesterday.
It's amazing to have a memory like that, isn't it? That you can carry with you. That's
it was the packed house. It was the last game of the West Terrace before the West Stand got made all seater. Some of my mates were there 2 hours before kick-off to queue up, so they could get next to the tunnel, so they could shout out to me as I walked out. I was 11 years old. you know, every kid's dream, basically, you know, and it was, yeah. There was no finer day.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up the not so rapid fire questions. I know we got to change.
Nothing's ever rapid fire with me talking. I'll tell you.
Well, not just that. I mean, you know what's funny is the person who wrote these questions for us to begin with, way back when. He likes to talk as well, and would never get through these less than 5 minutes. So anyway, it was Wayne actually, and Lee too. They were the first two that actually do this. So anyway, if you guys haven't already, I know we didn't get to talk about everybody's second team because we're talking about so much other stuff, but definitely check that out on Amazon. It cost me here in America $2.99 to buy it, which is ridiculous. That's extremely cheap for the production value and everything else. It was a great movie. Also, I look forward to my work week. I hate going to work, but I love the ride into work when I get to listen to, you know, all these different podcasts, like More Than Just a Podcast, which you can hear Nigel and Sean, who's been in the chat room. We've also interviewed him. It's always a great listen. I really enjoy it.
George and John as well. Don't forget them.
No, definitely. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, I've interviewed you two. They got to come on the show next so we can introduce them to the rest. But listen, I really enjoy it for sure. And I hope everybody else gets an opportunity to listen to you guys. There's a couple quick things I have to mention before we go off the air. That is, we have a hotline. So if you guys want to leave us a voicemail, it's 1-512. We are AHTV. Leave us a voicemail. We played one last night. That was, it was a rant. I mean, leave a rant with us. Or if you have any suggestions or you want to just shoot the shit, we'll play the messages on our show. The other thing is please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll just say James Tompkins so we can all drink in the chat room.
Can I just say one thing with people? When you have a rant, sometimes it's not good to do it instantly after the game. I listened to the American podcast boys with Tony and Brawley, and one of the funniest things I heard recently was they did like half hour straight after a game. And it was like they'd sucked an helium balloon because they were going to explode. Yeah. And then they did the second half the next day or anything, and it was a bit more calmer and a bit more rationed. And, and that's what makes sometimes the YouTube channels great, to get the instant reaction. But sometimes you can come across a bit silly.
Yeah, no, I know. But, we had a guy from Brooklyn, New York on Charlie Boy who his voicemail it's gold. It's absolute gold. In his accent and his demeanor and everything else, it was just absolute gold. He had a lot of one-liners in there that were hilarious, and I don't think we would have got that if it wasn't right after.
No, that's why Arsenal TV is so big, because they are a bunch of plums and they love to explode.
Yeah. So the last thing I got to mention is ahtv.threadless.com. We have a shitload of designs that you can put on shirts, on hats, not on hats, I'm sorry, but sweatshirts, duvet covers, shower curtains, skateboards, whatever you want. We have not just supporters group logos in there from all over the world. We also have our logos, our American Hammers Radio, which is on iTunes and Spotify as well. And we also have show logos like Friday Night Lights and some other stuff like the OG Debate, which is going to be getting in the shop soon. We also have Toronto Hammers, Russian Hammers, all these different cool logos you can put on stuff.
No Canning Town Hammers then?
No, we know, but we need to. That's the point. We got Hammers Brazil. We're going to be getting in there soon. We're trying to get as many into the shop as well, because what happens is we split it with all these groups that we split the profit with all the groups that let us have their logo in our shop. We help get their shit out there, and then they get 50%, which is good. But my favorite one is the Uncle Sam with an American Hammers TV logo with his finger saying, "Dear Spurs, have a nice day." That's a good one, because I hate Spurs. And other than that, we have a show tonight, the Weekend Review show with Lee and Sally and 3 other blokes. I don't know who's going to be on. I know Charlie Boy from Brooklyn, the guy I just mentioned, is going to be on there. But other than that, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll talk to you two real quickly off the air. Max, you want to say bye? You want to wave?
Bye.
All right then.
Bye, Max.
Blue hair Max. Yep. It was red last time he was on here. All right. I'll talk to you guys off the air. Come on, you irons.